Trump's Christmas Carol, God Help Us Everyone, by Watt T. Dickens. And this is part 3, which is the second of the three spirits. Trump lumbered back to bed and pulled the sheets over himself by way of defense. Though he was greatly wearied by the recent excursion, sleep remained a cold and distant stranger. You will be haunted by three spirits. That was what Nixon said. Having been so alarmed by the first, Trump trembled to imagine what form the second would take. He lay there an hour, expecting that any moment the sheets would be torn back and his body exposed like an unwrapped Twinkie. Eventually, Trump's peevishness overcame his terror, and he resolved to deny the ghoul the pleasure of unveiling him. He sprang out of bed with an almighty cry, only to discover that the room was empty. Empty, perhaps, but not quite silent. As he squinted through the gloom, Trump could hear a noise, distant at first, growing ever closer. It sounded for all the world like the chanting of an enormous crowd. "Yes, we can. Yes, we can." "What the hell?" Trump murmured, for this chorus came not from his TV set nor the radio nearby, but rather to emanate from the next room. The chant grew louder and louder. "Yes, we can. Yes, we can." Trump threw open the door to stand gawping in amazement. This was his room, all right, but what a transformation he had wrought. It was bathed in a rainbow of light and strewn with brightly colored streamers. In the center of it stood a rangy, handsome figure with elephantine ears and a megawatt smile. Why, it was none other than Barack Obama, wearing a Hawaiian shirt and sipping rum from a coconut. A flowery garland hung around his neck. "Ebenezer," he cried, "come on in." Such was Trump's astonishment that it overwhelmed his general desire to do the opposite of whatever he was told. And so he entered. "As you can see, the big-eared intruder, I am, enjoying my retirement nonetheless. It's important to keep busy, so I'm doing my bit as the, ghost of Christmas presents." "Barack, wow," said Trump. "I can't believe he came all the way from Kenya." Obama's smile faded, then reappeared like a moon briefly covered by the clouds. Mr. President, we've been through this extensively. My father was Kenyan, but I myself was born in Hawaii. In fact, I provided the media with my birth certificate." "You seem pissed off," said Trump. "Hey, I get it. This time of year must be tough for you, seeing as a Muslim." "For God's..." the spirit began, then thought better of it. "Look, I understand that my colleague, the ghost of Christmas past, has conjured some visions and taught you a valuable lesson." "Not really," said Trump. I'm not much of a learner." "Well, nonetheless," said the ghost, "I'm here to show you how other people are spending their holiday." Fine. Let's just get it over with, I guess." All at once, they were engulfed in a tremendous snowstorm, though Trump could have sworn that every window was closed. As soon as the room had disappeared completely, the two of them now stood in a vast square covered in white. Above them, the gorgeous domes of St. Basil's Cathedral shone like baubles on a Christmas tree. Everywhere they looked, members of the Bolshoi Ballet leapt and pirouetted, while old bearded men discussed life under Stalin. Nearby, a couple of Cossacks danced from the music of Tetris. "Where the hell are we?" demanded Trump. "I thought you, of all people, would recognize it," said the spirit. We're in Moscow." "Moscow?" repeated Trump. "Why, if I want to know what's going on in Russia, I can use my secret back channel." He paused a moment and then looked anxious. "Wait a minute. Ghost dreams aren't admissible in court, are they?" "Don't worry, Ebenezer," the spirit replied. "I'm not here to dispense moral justice, but to save your immortal soul." "Yeah, good luck with that," said Trump. Rather than respond, the spirit slipped an arm around and carried Trump toward the sky. Together they soared above the powered city before swooping down towards the Kremlin. Passing through the walls in a manner that they had known about, which greatly upset Russian intelligence, the pair traversed the corridors unseen. Eventually they came to a magnificently appointed dining room where a feast was taking place. At the head of the crowded table piled high with Christmas fare, there glowered a man of pallid skin and lupine features. "Vladimir Putin," Trump squealed boyishly. "Good guy, strong leader." "You know," said the spirit, "I never understood why you were so keen on this guy. Be honest, does he have some shit on you?" "Not shit," said Trump, "but you're in the right ballpark." Just then, Putin began to tap his glass with the KGB pinky ring, and the room fell silent. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announced, "as you know too well, I have not always enjoyed a great relationship with journalists or my political opponents. However, Christmas is a time for us to put aside our differences, which is why I have invited you here to dine at my table." Trump furrowed in his brow. "If they're speaking Russian, how come I can understand what they're saying?" "Seriously," said the spirit, "that's the bit that freaks you out? You being haunted by a literal ghost?" "My friends," Putin continued, "let us drink to a more peaceful future for our beloved country. Nostrovia! Nostrovia!" repeated the assembled journalists and politicians, all draining their glasses. Within seconds, each was clutching his or her own throat and collapsing on the table, white foaming bubbling from their lips. Putin grinned and helped himself to Christmas pudding as he waited for the twitching to subside. The spirit turned to find Trump swaying back and forth on his heels like a toddler. "I'm bored." "How can you be bored?" the spirit responded. "We just watched the Russian president murder a room full of people." "Meh. I believe it when I see it." "You just did." A sinister, thin-lipped attendant came up to Putin and cast his eyes about the scene of destruction. "Congratulations, sir," he said. "That was masterfully done." "Thank you, Sergei Grigorovich. I presumed you wished to celebrate, perhaps with a funny movie." "Da," said Putin. "It is time for another screening of the P-tape." The attendant nodded with great solemnity. "I will bring popcorn." "All right," said Trump. "I get the picture. Let's go." That's him poisoning his crowd. That almost looks like Bill Gates. The spirit gave a mischievous smile. "You sure you don't want to see the tape?" "I said let's go," said Trump, sweating and tugging his collar. As swiftly as a candle is extinguished, the opulence around them disappeared, and Trump found himself standing in a modest but proud household. "The hell?" he murmured. "Oh," said the spirit, "we're not in Moscow anymore. This is Kansas." In the middle of the room, Trump could see a family gathered around a laptop, a father, a mother, and their little son. "What am I looking at?" he demanded. "Another Christmas. Kind of Christmas. That's Nadir, Shadi, and little Jamshid. A family of Muslim Americans." "Wrong," said Trump. "Those aren't Muslims. Where are their beards? Where is the ISIS recruitment boat? I don't see a single person firing an AK at the sky." "Come on, Ebenezer," the spirit admonished. "You can't generalize like that. There are 1.8 million Muslims in the world, a quarter of the population." "Well, I guess you know," said Trump. "What's with you being one?" "I swear to God," the spirit snapped. "If you don't shut your damn mouth, I'll, kick your ass." After a beat, the spirit lowered his head and massaged his temples. "I'm sorry," he said. "I pride myself on being the calmest person on earth. But man, you get to me. The point is, the Najif is here, may not be Christian, but they're still spending the holiday together as a family. Well, not a whole family." At this point, the plangent ring of Skype was heard, and a kindly old woman appeared on the laptop. "Maman Bazorg," James cried. "Maman Bazorg," and chatted away rapidly with his parents, had to remind him to breathe. "This is Jamshid's grandma," said the spirit. "He's saying his wishes more than anything that she were here." "Why isn't she? Husband won't let her out of the house?" "Don't you remember?" replied. "You signed a travel ban. What was it you called for? A total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country representatives can figure out what's going on." "Sure," said Trump. And I'm sorry, I just honked the horn. "Sure," said Trump, "but I didn't mean old ladies. I meant, Muslims, the terror guys. Do you even know the first thing about Middle East?" the spirit demanded. "The difference between Sunni and Shia? Salafi and Wahhabi interpretations of Islam, the current conflict in Yemen, in which Saudi forces are backing President Abdul Mansur Hadi against the Houthi rebellion. A look of doubt crept across Trump's features. To be honest, I don't really care about Muslims. I just said that stuff to get applause at my rallies. And the tougher I was, the more applause I got. He turned back to the family, who gazed at their distant love through the laptop screen. Maybe I'll rethink the ban. The alt-right won't like it, but then again, those guys never leave their parents' basements. So who cares? The spirit gave a small nod and the room was gone. In less than a moment, they were back in Washington. Trump now faced an underpass within which huddled a crowd of the destitute. What do you think of that? Said the spirit. Horrible construction job, he replied. Should have got me to do it. Nobody knows more about infrastructure than Trump. I was talking about the people inside. Oh. They walked beneath the concrete arch, and the Trump sneered at the homeless, quivering their sleeping bags. Sad, he exclaimed, a pathetic mess. No roaring heart for them this Christmas, mused the spirit. Of course there are those who could help, but how much did you say you were worth? $10 billion? Hey, it's not my fault these guys are losers, said Trump. I'm rich because I earned it. If they can't be bothered to succeed, they should just die and stop wasting air. You know, there's more to life than winners and losers, remonstrated the ghost. Wrong, Trump returned. The world's like The Apprentice. The strong get ahead and the weak get canned. Here the spirit rounded on Trump, his giant ears inflamed with anger. Look, you claim you want to make America great again, but you know what really stops America being great? It's guys like you. You were born with everything and refuse to relinquish one bit of it. They hoard their wealth, dodge their taxes, and pay politicians to remove any obstacles in their way. Then on top of all that, they lecture those born with nothing on responsibility. Well, what about your responsibility to those the system fails, to those you exploit, to the future generations you screw over till your dying day? And he took this in. Trump noticed a change in the spirit's appearance. His handsome face was lined with wrinkles and his hair had turned quite gray. Wow, Barack, said Trump. All due respect, you look like crap. I am nearing the end of my term, sighed the spirit. Whoever said that black don't crack clearly didn't have to deal with jackasses like you. Nonetheless, we still have one site to visit. The ghost led Trump through the snowy streets until they found themselves upon the threshold of a humble dwelling. Geez, what a dump, said Trump. Whose house is this? A man materially poor but rich in affection, said the spirit. You know him well, or rather, you see him often. Hey, if I wanted a brain teaser, I tried reading my health care bill. Well, you should come bustling up to the door just then, but... Well, who should come bustling up to the door just then? But Trump's trusty aide, Bob Cratchit. That honest man was quite laden with presents, and upon his shoulder sat his son, who carried a crutch, and whose limbs were supported by an iron frame. Tell me, little Marco, Bob Cratchit cried, how did you get these gifts? Shall be received by your brothers and sisters. They shall be received right joyfully, the child exclaimed in a sweet small voice, and how blessed are we who are given the chance to bring such joy. The door was opened by Mrs. Cratchit, a brave, sturdy, good-hearted woman who greeted her husband with a kiss as Trump and the spirit pursued him inside. In a matter of seconds, Bob was set upon the beside by the massed army of his offspring, who plundered the presents from his arms and clambered all over him as though he were a jungle gym. Once tolerably assured their father had enough, they hustled the boy and bore him off to the kitchen, that he might hear the pudding singing in the copper. How did little Marco behave? Asked Miss Cat. Oh, he was a perfect angel, said Bob. You should have seen how he rejoiced in the singing of the carolers and pled that I should give him presents to children poorer than he. Upon this account, Mrs. Cratchit's eyes brimmed with tears. How dear a child God has granted us, she sniffed, and how wretched we shall be if he's taken away. The hell she's talking about? Trump asked. Little Marco is seriously ill, he replied, and since you dismantled Obamacare, the Cratchits can no longer afford his treatment. My God, Trump examined. I had no idea. Trump and the spirit followed Cratchits into the living room, where the children were violently engaged in a game of cops and protesters. However, little Marco soon erupted in a fit of coughs, and when he removed his handkerchief from his mouth, it was flecked with blood. Oof, not good. Mrs. Cratchit caught Bob by the arm and took him to one side. Oh, we're going to have to pause it here because Laura just got the thing. So I will finish this later.